Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the news on NTA International. We're live in Abuja. I'm Ruth Aguele. First, we start with the headlines. COVID-19 active case search intensifies in Federal Capital Territory. Federal government disburses World Bank performance-based grants to 24 states. Plus, Federal High Court rejects bill variation for chairman of defunct pension reform task force, Abdulrashid Maina. Let's begin with a global update. The United States has confirmed over 1 million coronavirus cases, almost a third of the total global tally, which tops 3 million. Joyce Ometu brings us update on this.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC confirmed 195 new cases of COVID-19 in the country as at 11:50 p.m. 28th of April. A breakdown reveals that Lagos has 80 cases, 38 in Kano, Ogun and Bauchi 15 cases each, 11 in Borno, 10 in Gombe, 9 in Sokoto, Edo and Jigawa 5 each, 2 in Zamfara, while Rivers, Enugu, Delta, Nasarawa and FCT have 1 case each. There are now a total of 1,532 confirmed cases in the country. 255 patients have been discharged, while 44 have died. Meanwhile, figures by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. show that Africa in general has 36,034 COVID-19 infections, 1,536 deaths and over 12,000 recoveries. While some countries are beginning to ease lockdowns, there are fears that COVID-19 infection rates could accelerate again. Data compiled by Johns Hopkins University says the number of people around the world confirmed to have the coronavirus has risen to 3,165,236. 219,513 have died and over 900,000 recoveries recorded. The United States has registered a grim milestone as the number of coronavirus cases passed 1 million. There are now 1,034,151 cases in the U.S. In the meantime, India saw its highest jump in coronavirus daily deaths. A total of 73 people affected by the virus died in 24 hours, taking the death toll to 1,008. Singapore reported 528 new cases, its smallest daily rise in almost 2 weeks, bringing its total number of cases to 15,641. And a report from Morocco says some 313 coronavirus cases have been reported in Moroccan jails following mass testing for COVID-19. Most of the cases involved prisoners, but a small number of prison warders were also diagnosed. In other news, the UK government has pledged more than £1.5 billion over the next 5 years as part of international efforts to find a COVID-19 vaccine. Thanks for staying with us. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thanks, Joyce. In the meantime, 49 COVID-19 patients have been discharged in Lagos. The patients include 28 females and 21 males, including a foreign national. Lagos State Government says they were discharged today, Wednesday, from isolation facilities at Yaba Onikon to reunite with the society. And let's look at the PTF briefing of today. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says the overnight curfew is applicable nationwide from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily, effective Monday, 4th of May 2020. Chairman of the Task Force and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, who emphasized that at today's briefing, said interstate travels are banned except for movement of goods, agro products, petroleum products and other essential services.
For the avoidance of doubt, the following clarifications are provided. The overnight curfew is applicable nationwide from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily, effective Monday, 4th of May 2020. Interstate travels are banned except for the movement of goods, agro products, petroleum products, essential services, ECG, such as directed by Mr. President.
Minister of Health Dr. Osage Hanire stressed that the contamination, provision of hand sanitizers and hand washing facilities, as well as use of face masks and provision of thermometers for temperature checks are mandatory for reopening of offices and businesses, noting that offices and businesses must give consideration to persons living with disabilities in making all these arrangements.
Which is a major challenge and again necessitates a call on all of us, all citizens, not to take COVID-19 lightly, but to take ownership of initiatives for non-pharmaceutical interventions with strict adherence to public health advisories, which is to maintain social distance, practice hand and respiratory hygiene, avoid crowded places, and wear your mask or a face covering when you leave your house.
I'd like to continue to encourage donors to ensure the safe distribution of palliatives across the country. It is particularly important that donors ensure strict physical distancing, ensure that their personnel are trained on basic health and safety protocols.
In another development, the FCT administration has commenced a community active case search since February, sensitizing and collecting samples of residents to conduct tests for COVID-19. Rosemary Bilal reports that the health workers are appealing to the people in communities to always give correct means of identification in case they need to be contacted.
Community case search moved to Lube, Amak Area Council in continuation of free testing and distribution of fake masks and gloves, among others.
There is no cure for COVID-19, but it is very important we all test.
In a chat with Chief Nursing Officer and Health Educator, Public Health Department, and Notibitrus, she expressed dissatisfaction with some members of the community who gave fake phone numbers.
Please, every person that comes for this screening should please give us the correct number, or if you don't even have a phone, somebody you are confining on. The reason is this: if the result is out and we find out that the person is positive, there is that number that we use to get the person.
Dr. Mohammed Kawu said, though the health workers are facing challenges in various communities, they are gradually being resolved.
It's an issue. There's no point shying away from that. Real addresses are not there. You have the numbers. If you are lucky to pick the numbers, it's easy. There are challenges, but we are working hard to ensure that anybody confirmed is moved to the treatment center.
Some community members lauded the initiative.
We are very grateful. It's helpful.
Community tracing is actually the best way.
The community active case search is being intensified to nip in the broad community transmission and rid the FCT of coronavirus. Rosemary Molteleng Bilal, NTA News.
And to talk more about this new phase of COVID-19 community infection, we have a medical practitioner in the studio, Dr. John Toro Agbide. Thank you very much, Dr. Agbide, for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Ruth. What I really want to add to...
Let me ask you the question before you go ahead. Okay. The figure of the increased cases of COVID-19 seems to be increasing, especially in communities. What would you say is responsible for this from your observation?
Yeah, the truth is that once we miss the opportunity of really containing the index, cases, and then we allowed things to go out of hand, we're really at the face of, community, transmission. And that is really very worrisome. However, we've made some stride so far. Initially it was estimated that, or it was proposed that within the first 1 month of, of the first index case, Nigeria will be having numbers of cases in up to 2,000. but it has been over 1 month now. Now we're still under that figure. So some of the measures we've taken have actually helped, like the total lockdown, and then some of the emphasis that have been made on personal hygiene, washing of hands, and then using of masks, and then as well as social distances. I think all these measures added together combined have actually worked very well. I would like to emphasize that as we move into the next phase, we should really implement that of mask. People should put on their own masks, especially when they are going out. Otherwise, the cases of community transmission will be on the escalating side.
Okay, Doctor. Now, from what you're saying, the cases are increasing, though minimal compared to what is happening around the world. But we noticed that with the lockdown, the modification in the lockdown, what do you think people should be doing now so we don't, spread this virus, but rather contain it?
Yeah, one of the things that we should be doing is the enforcement of, face masks. People should do that, especially when they are going out of their homes. However, we should not really get, loose as such. Those who do not really have to go out, they should stay indoors. And those who are really going out, they should use, face mask. Additionally, let's not just be looking at, the sanitary and public health preventive measures. We should look at ways of building our own immune system, which we've been told over and over is the ultimate solution that gives the body's ability to fight back, the disease. So building our own immune system is very important. And I think even the presidential task force should be laying emphasis on this. People should do all it takes to really build their own immune system, that even when all fails and the virus comes into our body will have that potent defense mechanism that will really handle the disease. And in most cases, those who have buoyant immune system will get by with the disease.
Okay, and I'm glad you mentioned the PTF, and the federal government just is targeting 2 million tests in 2 months, because the challenge of testing, we know that has been a challenge, testing. How do you think this can be achieved?
Well, that is a matter of resources, and if you look at it at the start, we had about 5, laboratories centers that were, but as of today we have over 15, and I think within this short time we've really actually made progress. And I must say congratulations to the federal government under the leadership of our President Muhammad Buhari, and that of the task force. The task force, presidential task force, they've worked very hard, but a lot more needs to be done. I was very elated yesterday when I heard the chairman of the presidential task force, when during his briefing, that we should really start looking inwards, where he even gave the example and supported the step that have been taken by Madagascar to produce their own natural products that can be used. Here in Nigeria, we have potential. We have things that we can actually use that will really also help us fight against this disease, and this must not be negated but must be encouraged. Let's also look inward, just like the president told us in his first speech.
Okay, Dr. Abide, it's one thing to know a problem, to identify a problem, and it's another thing to find a solution. From the report we played earlier, we noticed that, from what our correspondent said, that some persons give fake address and identification. So when their results is finally out, it will be difficult, to trace them, in terms of contact, to give them their results. What's your thought on that?
Well, this is why I have to reiterate the point that fighting COVID-19 is not just the business of, the responsibility of, the government or the federal government alone or the task force in that matter. But it should be down to individual levels. We must take responsibility that we have to do all it takes to fight this, disease. So nobody that has this disease should go in, hiding. If you are hiding, you are exposing others to, a higher risk. But if you come out and say that this is what is happening to you, you will be even in a better position that you would be, helped. And by that way, we'll be able to contain, the disease a lot more and slow down the community, the rate of community transmission.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. John To Agbide. No doubt, when we say change begins with us, this is now we should exemplify that. All right, let's look at more reports on COVID-19. Widespread transmission of coronavirus pandemic has continued to pose threat to communities around the world, with Nigeria inclusive. In a bid to curb the amplifying effect of the COVID-19 and complement government's efforts in the provision of palliatives, the Society Committee Against COVID-19 has launched citizen sensitization against coronavirus. Obiageli Ugoke completes the story.
In the absence of any cure for the coronavirus pandemic, which has been ravaging the world since its outbreak, the Society Committee Against COVID-19 is championing safety and protective measures against COVID-19 to help protect Nigerian communities. With the eruption of coronavirus pandemic, economies around the world have been crippled. With the launch of so-called COVID, a committee that will champion education and humanitarian activities at community level, its impacts are being mitigated.
So COVID is taking off right now. And we have already rolled out part of what we are going to be doing. We will continue in all forms of campaign to ensure that our Nigerians, whether they are educated or not educated, they are able to hear and understand how to keep hygiene.
Some of the things we want to do is to go to the rural areas, to intensify the campaign so that people, unreachables, will be reached, at the community level.
So-called COVID committee will regularly provide advice on when and how to use face masks, travel advice, and as well infection prevention and control with locally made remedies.
We have herbs, we have garlic, we have uda, we have uziza. People have been talking and talking. Some people that were given chloroquine and vitamin C, it didn't work well for them. They said they were stooling. And then immediately they started taking the garlic and all this. They became better.
And that is why women have to come in the forefront of this battle and this fight, to ensure what affects Nigerian women affects the global community.
The committee will work in partnership with Presidential Task Force, civil society organizations, and religious bodies to launch a serious campaign against COVID-19 drug abuse. Obiageli Ugoke, NTA News.
All right, let's take a break. We're back shortly. Stay tuned.
Action. Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
All right, everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Thanks for staying with us. The federal government says there is no time to waste energy on political point scoring, whether by current or former holders of office or for any differences between state and federal administrations on the fight against COVID-19 in Kano and the entire country. But a common purpose is to preserve the lives and health of citizens. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says in a statement that there are currently verbal autopsies on the way in Kano State to identify the precise cause of the sudden and rapid increase in mortality in recent days. The statement adds, if there is reason to believe that the mortality rate in Kano due to COVID-19 is out of control, it will spell a serious development to which the best action would be for the federal government and state government to work more tightly together to find solutions and implement together, adding that the president and his government are with the people of Kano State and will not let them down. It further says in each and every country there are some cities and regions more severely affected than others. While some may wish to believe that there are other causes at play here like hypertension, diabetes, meningitis and acute malaria, there are others who say it is COVID-19. We should be prepared to accept the medical and scientific result of the autopsies and work together to confront the common enemy. Now, following complaints from Plateau State residents that some travelers still find their way into the state from neighboring states in spite of the border closure, the State Police Command has taken measures to tighten security in all entry routes to the state. The Commissioner of Police stated this while on border monitoring to ascertain the level of compliance with government directive. Abdul Wahab Babunkanti has more.
The compliance monitoring exercise of the first 3 lockdown, led by the Commissioner of Police and other security agencies, is to ensure all entry routes to Plateau State are adequately manned. It is also to address the issues of persons sneaking into the state, as this has continued to pose great danger to government effort at curtailing the spread of the pandemic.
Gone to the border between Plateau State and Kaduna State. That's the Jingri-Saminaka border. And from there we have moved here to see what is happening here. And at that point, it was near perfect in terms of compliance. Here too, the same thing. Usually you have some defiance,
Meanwhile, with the sighting of mobile courts at each entry route to prosecute violators, 6 persons from Kano State have been arrested and quarantined.
We are trying to see that we smooth, and with the help of the police force and with the help of the enforcement agents that will help us to, so that we bring an end to those rules.
Combined security operatives visited borders between Plateau and Kaduna State, as well as that with Bauchi State. In Jos, Abdul Wahab Babunkanti, NTA News.
The Ansarudin Society of Nigeria will continue to obey government order on lockdown of places of worships and adhere to all precautionary measures instituted by the federal government towards curtailing and containing the coronavirus pandemic in the country. This was attributed while donating palliatives to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in Abuja.
Led by the Deputy National President, Dr. Yusuf Adebayo Ibrahim, the leadership of the society was at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in solidarity with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in its efforts at fighting coronavirus in the country. The National Coordinator, Dr. Sani Aliu, received them on behalf of the committee.
Thank you very much.
I know you are all praying. We are also praying and working hard on this part to ensure that this COVID-19 is controlled and that we get out of it safe, unscratched.
The palliative, made up of food items, will be distributed to the less privileged in the society, irrespective of their religious affinity.
As far as Saudi is concerned, all our mosques all over the Federation is being closed down. We don't operate, we only operate from the house. Well, we advise all mosques as well to do the same thing, because nobody is about these diseases. Disease can kill anybody. It doesn't have recognition for either imam or anybody.
We are strengthening certain parts of the intervention and at the same time allowing some semblance of economic activity to proceed. We cannot reach the public, the communities, without going through faith-based organizations and traditional leaders. This is a very strong partnership. We respect the solidarity.
Ansarudin Society of Nigeria is one of the Islamic faith-based organizations founded about 70 years ago.
And to judiciary matters, efforts by the chairman of the defunct pension reform tax team, Abdurrashid Maina, to vary the terms of his bill have failed, as the Federal High Court in Abuja declined to grant his prayer. Olabode Arewa reports.
The trial of former chairman of the pension reform task team, Abdurrashid Maina, resumed this Wednesday. 2 applications filed by the prosecution and its defense teams were slated for ruling. The court held that the defendant was not entitled to a further variation of his bail conditions because there were no special circumstances to warrant such a variation. It therefore struck at the application for lacking in merit. Justice Okonabang also declined to grant the EFCC application seeking a revocation of Maina's bail terms.
The court dismissed the application to revoke the bail, rather struck it out instead of dismissing. And we found that strange because argument has been canvassed.
No date has been fixed for hearing of the matter. The defendant is facing a 12-count charge of alleged fraud and money laundering. In another development, Justice Okonabang has directed 20,000 young professionals from Cross River State to put the state government on notice of the pending motion to be heard on the 30th of April, seeking to restrain the state government from interfering with the funds belonging to the 18 local government areas of the state. In Abuja, Olabodarewa, NTA News.
The federal government of Nigeria has disbursed the sum of 43.416 billion naira as performance-based grants to 24 eligible states on the basis of the results achieved in 2018 under the performance-based grant component of the World Bank Assisted States Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Program. The facility is wholly financed with a loan of $750 million from the International Development Association, a member of the World Bank Group. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed, who disclosed this in a statement signed by Hassan Dodo, the Ministry's Director of Press and Public Relations, explained that the disbursement followed the participation of the 24 eligible states in the recent annual performance assessments carried out by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. Of the 24 benefiting states, Kaduna achieved the highest number of results and got the highest share with 3.96 billion naira, while Katsina and Benue got the lowest amount of 540 million naira each. President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with Governor Ahmed Umaru Fintiri of Adamawa State over the transition of his mother Hajia Fatima Umaru Badami at the age of 68. Senior Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity Garba Shehu in a statement says the President, while commiserating with the family of the governor, the government and people of the state received the sad news with shock. President Buhari enjoined Governor Fintiri and all those who mourn Hajia Fatima to be consoled by the knowledge that she lived a godly life devoted to service to her immediate community and the less privileged in the society. He prayed God to give solace to the mourners and accept the soul of Hajia Fatima. In another development, President Rochmark Christian Kabore of Burkina Faso has commiserated with President Muhammadu Buhari on the death of his Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari. President Kabore wrote in his condolence message to the Nigerian leader, saying that in this painful circumstance, he assured President Buhari of his compassion and solidarity of the people of Burkina Faso. We're done with the news. We do appreciate your company. Thanks for being with us. I'm Ruth Aguela. Bye.